Welcome to Greenhouse Grower to Grower, the podcast where we're shaping the future of floriculture, one conversation at a time. We talk with the growers, leaders, and innovators shaping tomorrow's greenhouse industry today. From market trends, next generation plants, and innovative production, to the challenges and breakthroughs redefining what it means to grow. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower. Let's dig into what's next together. For the team here at Greenhouse Grower, the month of May means the top 100 growers. Throughout this month, we'll be featuring conversations with members of our 2026 Top 100 Growers list, which you can learn more about in our May issue. This week, I'm joined by Michael LaRusso and Lucas Ellis from Hampshire Farms, which won Greenhouse Grower's 2025 Operation of the Year award. Michael is a section grower at Hampshire Farms, and Lucas is a sales coordinator who specializes in social media. In this episode, we talk about everything from new technology to new genetics to new ways to communicate with your customers. Here's our conversation. So Michael and Lucas, thanks for joining me on our podcast this week. I know it's a busy time of year for everybody in this industry, but I appreciate you taking some time this morning.
Yeah, of course.
Let's talk first about about each of your roles at Hampshire Farms, how you got into the company and some of the key responsibilities that each of you have. Lucas, we'll start with you.
My role with Hampshire Farms, so I'm the sales coordinator for Hampshire Farms, and pretty much what I do is I mainly completely manage our social media. So I kind of keep track with the trends and
Sure.
what is kind of big on the houseplant side, like the tropical houseplant side of our company.
Sure.
And that's kind of where my realm of expertise is within Hampshire Farms.
Okay.
I do pretty much like a weekly check-in. I scour the internet and I'm like, what's the top 10 trending things that we want to really look for and like grow and
Yeah.
check with our vendors and stuff. And that's
Okay.
pretty much what I do with Hampshire Farms. I started off on the field on our field team doing more hands-on manual like in-store things like the merchandising side of things,
Yeah.
wanting to step over to where I am now because I have
Sure.
I'm very passionate about like the tropical houseplants and all of that kind of that field, and the perennials are very beautiful,
Mhm.
and all the things that like Michael grows.
Yeah.
It's all very beautiful to me, and I'm like, since moving to this position, the sales coordinator position, it's been such like a, oh my God, this is a side of the horticulture industry that I've never really seen
Yeah.
until actually stepping into this, and it's really really amazing, and yeah.
Okay. Well, and that's so critical. I mean, a company like yours could be growing the most beautiful, high quality plants, but if you're not keeping track on the consumer side, what a consumer is looking for, that first part doesn't mean a lot. So that's great. The fact that you're focused on this, and I definitely want to talk at some point here in the conversation about some of the trends that you're seeing and how you keep up with those types of trends. Before I do that, though, let's jump over to Michael and kind of talk about your role at Hampshire Farms and your own background.
For sure. So sophomore year of college, I started merchandising during my
Okay.
summers for Hampshire Farms. So out in the stores, making sure our product looks good on the tables. So after that for a few years and I graduated, I didn't really know what to do, which full-time job I wanted. I know I wanted to work outside. So eventually I asked for more hours and they recommended I could work at the farm.
Okay.
I started at the farm, just working on the potting line, transplanting all day. Then as I started to ask questions, more and more questions about horticulture and the processes of really how to produce plants, it started giving me more opportunities.
Okay.
I became assistant grower. Now I'm one of the two section growers here.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, it sounds like each of you are working across multiple departments there, just kind of make sure that as one part of the company is moving forward, the other part of the company is doing the same thing. So that's great. So let's talk about what's happening with the whole houseplant market, and we've seen that really take off in and coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. So how do you guys then kind of keep track of what consumers are looking for in that category, how they shop in that category as well, and then how you can respond as a company to being able to meet some of those trends and market changes.
That's a big question, for sure. So a lot goes into it. It's not just like I said, scouring the internet. It's really it's that, but it's also like monitoring what sells because really because we sell specific line of things, and
Mhm.
in our business, the more trendier, like higher priced, like higher ticketed, like plans
Yeah.
aren't gonna do so well with us. But at the same time, we want to keep that in mind. So in the future, we can offer that because one of the big things is for us, we don't want to inundate customers with like a high priced item because we want to
Right.
bring affordable plans, like high quality affordable plans to the consumer.
Mhm.
Um, and ultimately, I know that's what they want as well. So whenever I see like it's always seeing all these things like what's trending, like all these like variegated plants, all of that sort of thing. Um, and just ultimately monitoring that
Okay.
and trying our best to get that for the customer, and that's really what I'm seeing too is I think in the industry, consumers are seeing, like, it's always it's a rise and fall.
Yeah.
Oh, the Pink Princess Philodendron was that 4 years ago, I think that was, a big hot house plant,
Okay.
and consumers are kinda seeing it, it's like, "Oh, it's $400 now, we'll wait," and that's kind of how we are too, because it's like, we'll see that, and we've recognized that, and we want to get consumers those plans. So it's really recognizing these plants that are trending
Yeah.
and planning and identifying when we can bring that at that affordable price.
Okay, okay. Well, I know I'm sure a big part of that too is helping the consumer become successful with what they're buying as well, so they don't bring home, a house plant and then they can't take care of it. So, what do you
Mhm.
guys do when it comes to that, and just kind of making sure that the end consumer can find success with what they're buying from you guys?
So that's actually a big point that I myself come in,
Okay.
managing the social media with us.
Yeah.
I care about bringing that knowledge to the community.
Hmm.
So try my best to pick a specific house plant or specific perennial, just specific plants in general.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna limit it to just that, just a specific plant, and ultimately give that knowledge to any gardener, grower, houseplant person, anyone.
Yeah.
Like I really prioritize pushing that knowledge on social media. And not only that, we do put care tags in every single plant, and we
Okay.
try to keep it as matched up with the plant as possible.
Okay. Okay. Michael, I want to talk about the growing side here. So, I mean, as you guys as a company looked more at this category, how did you approach it to make sure that you had number one the right varieties in place, but anything that you had to do in the greenhouse to make sure that you were set up to produce a high quality plant? How did you kind of approach that process?
Well, for us, I think it's just continuous refinement of our product mix
Okay.
and our technologies to grow it, also processes and SOPs. So every year we kind of do more projects. Like this year, we're focusing on improving irrigation.
Okay.
So we have a lot of micro sprinklers and booms, but sometimes we aren't able to get enough water into the pot. So we're trialing, for example, impact sprinklers. We
Okay.
sell at Metrolina actually. You just have a bunch of impact sprinklers attached to the post and irrigate that way. So we're like,
Okay.
man, we want to try that. We trialed it. We thought it worked a lot better. It's less nozzles to clean. There's more volume of water getting into the pot. Found it to be more uniform.
Okay.
So we expand on that idea. Also use drip more too to improve our quality for the larger pot items.
Okay.
think of ways to get easier liquid feed in. So we use like quick disconnects with our dosatrons to get feed in since we don't have inline ways to feed our crops.
Okay.
Tuning our Argus environmental control system, training more assistant growers to help out with the care. There's lots of like every year we just refine our processes more and more and our product
Good.
mix too, keep up with the
Yeah.
new genetics. Because these companies do a great job improving the crops themselves. So if long we just pay attention to that and just switch in the better varieties, that also makes a massive difference.
Okay. When it comes to that type of technology, I mean, how do you look at, okay, what's going to make the most sense for what you guys are doing? And I mean, and having conversations with some of your suppliers to make sure that, the technology that they're developing is going to fit what you guys need as a company.
Yeah, we're always talking to them. So it's interesting because our values don't always align. Well, as my values as a grower don't always align with what our customers want. Because, for example, like as a grower, I want the compact crops and
Yeah.
need little PGR. But some customers, they want large crops. There's a bit of a balance there. We kind of have to grow multiple varieties to have the
Sure.
compact and also large varieties. But I mean, for me as a grower, it's a lot of like disease resistance is a big one.
Okay.
Crop uniformity too. Um, Also be great to get some new genera in there, some new crops, because we're seeing a lot of refinement of the same, echinaceas, gaillardias, but bringing
Yeah.
it to new generas would be really cool too. But I understand it takes a very long time to do.
Sure. Sure. How do you keep up with some of those trends then, specifically with new varieties? I mean, is it, do you go to shows, talk to breeders, or how does that work?
Um, Trade shows is a big part of it too. Um, Also for our customers, since we, sell the big box stores, we have like the basics, a lot of the standard crops, a lot of the
Mhm.
specialized crops
Okay.
we don't really grow since I think like the customers that will look for that would go to like the more nurseries and the garden centers.
This episode of the Greenhouse Grower to Grower podcast is sponsored by Prospian. I'm joined today by Paul Golden, Director of Sales Commercial Growing at Prospian. Welcome, Paul. How are you?
I'm good, Brian. Thank you.
Good, good. So, Paul, in the past couple of years, we've heard from many greenhouse growers looking to either build a new facility from the ground up or retrofit an existing greenhouse. I wanted to see if you could offer some advice on some of the factors that growers need to consider when they're making this type of a decision.
Great. Thank you, Brian. I think we're in a unique position to talk about this because even though we are a greenhouse OEM, we do actually provide a lot of services in terms of retrofits and project construction. So I've seen uh, I've seen successful ones, and I've seen we've talked to many people that have had unsuccessful attempts at retrofitting greenhouses. As you know, this is a bit of a consolidation market, and you see a lot of operators moving into vacant greenhouses or buying up each other and sharing the space. Um, One thing I always tell people when they go to look at acquiring a new asset is really what are the structural limitations of that asset? Was it ever built for the purpose that you want to use it for? Does it have the right layout, gutter height, airflow? Was it intended to be used all summer long, continuous production, or was it only meant to be a seasonal facility? And now you have a need for a year-round operation. So, what were just the structural limitations of the original build before diving in and thinking that you have something that's a real quick, fast, turnkey, plug and play uh, facility that you can move into? A lot of compatibility issues I see too. When you look at these older houses, anything past 20 years old is typically going to have an outdated venting system, glazing system, regardless of who's manufactured that structure. It's going to be very difficult to find parts and pieces for the vents, for the motors, for the drives, you name it, extrusions. Almost impossible to completely retrofit one for one. So you may be end up replacing your entire roof, even though you have a roof vent issue, for example, or replacing the entire control system, even though you have just one minor component inside the control system that is no longer manufactured. I always warn people that you don't want to throw good money after bad money. Yeah, good money after bad. So you'll see, you can pick up some pretty low cost greenhouses out there, and then people have the ideas of putting in very expensive growing systems, Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to put $1 million upgrade into a structure that's probably got no more value than maybe 10 more years left at life, and probably, you know, has a value of $10 a square foot or something like that. Energy efficiency, if you're not going to move into a purpose-built greenhouse, wasn't intended to be used year round, chances are you're going to have major issues with energy efficiency. And in fact, when you look at the site, you want to look at the infrastructure. Can you even expand on it? Not just talking from a structural standpoint, but does it have the water, gas, electric that you need to make the expansions that you would want to do down the road? Versus, is this just going to be another island site that's kind of off on its own? Structural upgrades always a concern. Structural quality, I guess, always a concern on older structures. You're not likely going to be able to take them down, move them, and put them back up, and get any kind of building permits. That's almost never the case. So what you have is stuck on the land that's on. And I'll also mention that if it was built way back in the day, it may not be suitable for people to be going up there monkeying around and trying to retrofit, put new glazing on there. One of the biggest issues we have with trying to retrofit old houses is actually trying to find laborers that are willing to work on them. Just, from a safety perspective, that OSHA's out there looking at people. You hear all the time about farmers trying to do it themselves and then getting busted by OSHA. These older houses that weren't really ever engineered aren't appropriate for people to be working on in most cases. We have to build in a certain amount of loading into our structures as a new structure in order to meet building codes and meet OSHA safety requirements these days. So these all play in when you're building when you're moving into an existing structure versus building a new one. And I'd like to tell people, we pride ourselves in our expertise on the ability to deliver on installations and retrofits. So if you have a situation where you think you want to acquire new property, maybe bring that to our attention before you go out and spend the money, because we can certainly come out and do a site visit and give our recommendations.
Okay. Well, that's great. I really appreciate your insights here, Paul. And for those listening, you can go to prospian.com for more information on any of this. So, Paul, thanks for your time today. Thank you for joining me. As you guys look, towards the future as a company, and I think you guys have gone through a couple retrofit projects over the past year or so. Has that been in response to this trend, or is that something separate that you guys are doing? How did that kind of develop?
The 2 acre expansion, our owners and management want our company to grow.
Yeah.
But part of that is just we're at capacity, so we just need more space to grow more plants.
Mhm.
So that's all that really is. Because even right now, even with the expansion, we're still growing some stuff pot to pot, even though we shouldn't. We're still growing
Sure.
stuff on
Okay.
walk paths, even though we shouldn't. Like we're strapped for space, so just adding more space where we can.
Okay. Okay. As you've gone through that process, are there any particular lessons that you've learned that as you look towards the future and you're going to do something similar, that, maybe we'll try something different the next time we go about doing this?
Big one was the irrigation, the impact sprinkler irrigation that we tried out. Really enjoying that, and the inline fertilization that we talked about.
Okay.
Other than that, it's the same as our Guard Connect. It's just an extension of that. Oh, rails. We grow on the Dutch rolling table system,
Okay.
so we have rails. So our rails were, they're set in concrete, but over time, a lot of those concrete has moved and shifted. Some have upended completely. So instead of having our rail system embedded in concrete, we now have it to where it's just on feet and it just sits on top of the ground.
Okay.
And then each set of legs is connected with a steel beam in between it. So we found that to be a lot better for our rail system, so it doesn't move us around as much.
Okay.
Because once those get broken, they're very hard to fix, and it could be a big pain in the butt for everyone working. Because then the tables fall off, and you have like just hundreds of pounds of plants on the trying to lift it up by yourself is really hard on your back. So that was a big improvement too.
Okay. Okay. You mentioned a few minutes ago, when it came to the irrigation side of things, seeing what a company like Metrolina has done. So how often do you look at, what some of the other growers in this industry are doing and trying to figure out, okay, this might make sense for us to do as well?
Um, Our management's very good at getting us out and about to visit other greenhouses,
Okay.
because, just looking around, a lot of operations are different, especially the small things. Even
Yeah.
like small things are really helpful for just small efficiencies and improvements. For example, like that, those new legs, the rolling table system that we talked about. That's something we saw up in Canada
Okay.
at Sunrise Greenhouse.
All right.
So if we didn't visit them, we wouldn't have known, and we would have done the same legs we've been doing in the past.
Yeah.
So with that, we have found improvements. So we try to get out, especially through trade shows, and for you know we could plan tours, and we also give tours as well. So I think sharing that information is really helpful for both of us.
Okay. Okay. Lucas, I want to jump back over to you and talk about, your role on the social media side of things. So, I mean, it's really interesting because, I have so many conversations with growers in this market, but it's, a lot of times it falls more on the production side of things, or, looking at technology, for example, technology in the greenhouse is what I'm thinking of. But,
Mhm.
as you got into this role, I mean, was this something that the company came to you and said, we have this role that you want you to do, or did you, kind of forward and say, hey, this is something that I'm interested in?
So the company had kind of proposed this role already, and it's something that I was no stranger to. I was like, I've already been like, "Hey, I want to step into this role. Like,
Yeah.
here's all of my ideas. Like, I want to grow this side of the company because, um, prior to me, there was no solid person that did social media or did any of the stuff that I really do.
Yeah.
So it was definitely something that I kind of grew into and
Hmm.
uh, kind of pushed further and further.
Okay. Have you noticed like a shift in how your consumer is shopping for plants today? And how that reflects, how you give them information as opposed to, like, years ago, you just sent like a mailer or something, have like an email
Mhm.
list. Now I got to imagine things are moving quickly and you've got to keep track of, if every consumer shops in a different way. How do you work through some of those challenges?
It's yeah, it's a big task, that one. Because there's so many different there's so many different categories of growers.
Yeah.
And ultimately it's I not only digitally but physically, it's really going out, talking to people that are in stores, kind of quizzing them online, but also talking to people in stores because that's the best way that we can get that information is just talking to the average gardener.
Hmm.
And that's the best way that I can get those answers for
Okay.
people.
All right. It's funny as we're having this conversation. I'll say you guys are probably more on the younger side of the folks that I talk to for this podcast. So I am curious, to the as you work across, the entire company, how do you connect with, those who have been there for a while and share ideas? How do you learn from them, and are there things maybe that they're learning from you at the same time? Because we talk a lot about, this industry, this, each company's made up of, you know folks from, several different generations. So how does that kind of come into play in terms of what you guys learn and what you can share with those who you work with?
I will say we're very lucky to be in the company that we are because regardless of age or generation, um, everyone here at Hampshire Farms, A, loves plants,
Hmm.
and B, just wants the best growth that we can for not only the company but each other. So it's really like an open-minded, like constructive workplace.
Okay.
So that's the big thing for us. It we listen to each other. We listen to like the constructive criticism and like our ideas, and it no idea goes un like unchecked in on, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Michael, but what about you on your end? How are you working across the teams and, and folks from one generation to the next?
For sure. For the other grower is the same age as me, but we also have a third semi-retired grower who's been in the
Okay.
industry for many decades. So
Yeah.
we used to learn a lot from him during the meetings, and he'll walk around and give us notes of things we should be looking at and improve upon.
Okay.
So always paying attention to them because they have a lot of experience and they see things that I don't see at all. So,
Okay.
and also about to start 2 interns in a couple weeks. So there's even people younger than me starting. So again,
Okay.
I teach them too. So I'm learning, and then I pass it on to the next generation.
Okay. Okay. As you guys look ahead, what excites you? And I'll start with Lucas for this question. What excites you the most about the future of not just Hampshire Farms as a company, but also this industry that you're in? What are you most excited about seeing in the years ahead?
I two big things personally.
Okay.
I'm excited to see all the different new plants, the beautiful bred plants, the things that I've never seen before, the things that I know that are going to be trending, that the things that I know that will sell. I think that's really the big thing for me is just I'm excited to see what's new.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned the second one there.
Oh, yeah, didn't I? I did, didn't I? But yeah, the thing like seeing the things that are new and also seeing um the trends kind of change. I really I get excited to see, oh, what's next? Like
Yeah.
what thing is going to be next? What's going to be the hot item? Like what what are we going to be like looking for?
Yeah. Okay. Michael, what about you? What are you most excited about when it comes to the future?
New genetics for sure. I mean, they got the glow in the dark petunia now. Waiting for the glow in the dark hosta. Anything else that's really cool, but also the technology side too, because there's always some new cool technology. Like the TTA machine. We're looking into getting that. So just like what next? What other cool technology is gonna come up with that makes my job a lot easier?
Thank you for joining us. You can learn more about this and other topics at greenhousegrower.com, and you can also follow Greenhouse Grower on LinkedIn. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, and please leave us a rating or review as it helps other listeners find the show. The Greenhouse Grower to Grower podcast is produced by the team at Meister Media Worldwide. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower.